are America's super rich, backing Tommy Robinson.
So let me ask you, where are the men from England?
Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, is the UK's best-known far-right influencer. He's attempting a glossy rebrand from fringe extremist with a criminal record to a self-styled anti-Islam citizen journalist with the ability to command large, sometimes violent crowds. That transformation is being, in part, turbocharged by millionaires and billionaires in the United States. In this two-part special, we investigate Robinson's rise and his relationship with the world's richest man, Elon Musk. But first, we reveal the conservative US pro-Israel backers boosting his operation.
We can go back to his days in the English Defence League. There was actually a kind of Jewish Defence League division within the EDL itself.
Why does Israel need a minister to combat anti-Semitism? It's literally the one problem Jews here do not have.
I would suspect of a rise in anti-Semitism as well, to the rise in Islamophobia, and to communities that should be working together, being divided and being pitted against each other, I think.
I'm Sangeeta Maiska. This is The Long Story Short. Tommy Robinson's stream of consciousness was made for the digital age.
Look at the mosque here, look. The white mosque. The white mosque. Why do I find that funny?
Wherever he goes, there's a camera nearby, creating monetized, clickable content for a global audience keen to buy his message that Islam is a danger to Britain.
More people are going to support us. People hate you. They've had enough of your lies.
Robinson's condemnation of the UK government recognising a Palestinian state has curried favour with his Israeli counterparts.
Can we turn back? The British government have just turned on Israel. But
They've been turning on us for a long time.
Yeah, but when we say they, it's the British government. So let's separate the people from the establishment.
And in September 2025, Yaxley Lennon's full-throated support of Israel's war on Gaza clinched his first official invitation from Netanyahu's hard-right coalition government, despite British Jewish organisations condemning the trip and describing Robinson as a thug.
We should be very shocked that the Israeli government invited Tommy Robinson to Israel officially, but we shouldn't be surprised. Unfortunately, this is part of a long turn of the Israeli government and Israeli politics in general towards the far right, and towards using in particular Islamophobes across the European far right in particular, because they see it as serving their aims.
It was Israel's Minister for the Diaspora and Combating Anti-Semitism, Amichai Hickley, who reached out to Robinson. Hickley was himself once considered a fringe extremist, and since joining Israel's coalition government, he's made it his business to cozy up to a string of far-right politicians across Europe.
There are a few ways in which we can look at this. Technically, his title is the Minister in charge on relations with diaspora Jewry and in combating anti-Semitism. On both things, he's failing miserably. Also, why does Israel need a minister to combat anti-Semitism? It's literally the one problem Jews here do not have. This country is not anti-Semitic, and if our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora need any kind of help combating anti-Semitism, then they're the one who should be leading that front and telling us how to best support them.
At a rally for Tommy Robinson in Tel Aviv that attracted about 1,000 people, Hickley doubled down on his support for the former football hooligan. The minister was interviewed by the Canadian right-wing digital channel Rebel News. More on them later.
Will support the work of Tommy, support his efforts to say the truth regarding radical Islam.
I think this government is so blinded by its own anti-Islamic propaganda and agenda, they will align themselves with anyone who will support this agenda, be it elected politician, be it people of the press, be it social media influencer, be it evangelical forces, all of those mega churches who are so dangerous when you really examine them.
Although this was Robinson's first government-backed trip, he's been trying to get himself noticed in Israel for some time. On a visit in 2016, he posted this picture of himself standing on a tank holding a machine gun in the occupied Golan Heights. Back then, Robinson led the anti-Islam group Pegida UK, which was a branch of its curiously named German counterpart, the Patriotic Europeans Against the Islamization of the Occident. Its ideology was almost identical to Robinson's previous far-right group, the English Defence League, which he helped found but had left 3 years earlier. The organisation's central message was that Islam posed a civilizational threat to the West.
I think for a long time Robinson has been supportive of Israel. We can go back to his days in the English Defence League. There was actually a kind of Jewish Defence League division within the EDL itself. He's had a lot of kind of pro-Zionist, pro-Israel discourse in the past, but I guess this is the first time that he's been there as an official invitee, so it's quite a significant change in terms of the regime itself maybe recognising Robinson, but Robinson also seeing Israel as kind of bulwark of the West against Islam.
Tommy Robinson insists he's never been directly funded by the State of Israel. Getting details of which organisations funded Robinson around this time are very hard to trace because, unlike political parties, protest movements like Pegida UK and the EDL are not required to declare who is donating money or resources. However, by 2019, Yaxley Lennon was distinctly flush with cash. He appeared at a Free Tommy rally in central London, flashing a new set of capped teeth, a slick new media organisation, and offering subsidised transport to his supporters. This new incarnation was in part down to 3 American business moguls, all of whom are self-declared anti-jihadists and strongly pro-Israel.
Again, extreme anti-Islamic, extreme right-wing Jews in America that are supporting a lot of extreme notions, extreme anti-Islamic notions and actions here in Israel on the ground. I am not surprised that they're also supporting anti-Islamic notions in other places in the world. Actually, if you can make it look cohesive, if you can make it look like the extreme Islamists are going after Jews everywhere in the state of Israel and in the UK and in America, then you don't have to hold the Israeli government accountable for its action, right?
There's no suggestion that Tommy Robinson's pro-Israel backers are providing the bulk of his income. Arguably, a more significant form of support comes from Elon Musk, whose role we'll explore in our next episode. However, Yaxley Lennon's pro-Israel backers have undoubtedly professionalised his activities. So, who's backing him? First, there's the tech billionaire Robert Shillman, known as Dr. Bob. According to Reuters, the Shillman Foundation has funded a number of conservative and pro-Israel groups, including the Zionist Organization of America, whose mission statement is to, quote, speak out for Israel. In 2017, The Guardian reported that Shillman had financed a fellowship for Robinson, which included a £5,000 a month salary. The fellowship led to Robinson being employed as a reporter by the Canadian digital media site Rebel News, formerly Rebel Media. That's the same right-wing outfit that filmed Robinson's official trip to Israel, thereby raising his profile and boosting his income.
I think that his image has always been tied up with this idea of being kind of a working class martyr or hero. And we see this with other populist politicians, even if they are close to very powerful people or are powerful themselves, try to kind of develop and cultivate over time. I think it was simply having those resources that gave him a new platform and a more international recognition that he was already a bit player in, but I think it just kind of catalyzed that process for him.
Another player was the late conservative author and media personality David Horowitz. He was one of America's most vociferous right-wing activists. He'd previously called President Barack Obama a communist and a traitor, and condemned Democratic calls to impeach President Trump as treason. He founded a think tank that profiles Shillman Fellows and published articles supporting Robinson, who he described as a courageous Englishman. Its website reads, The David Horowitz Freedom Center combats the efforts of the radical left and its Islamist allies to destroy American values and disarm this country as it attempts to defend itself in a time of terror.
Yeah, that's what I would call far right and Islamophobic, quite simply in a way. Again, we can talk about Islam, we can talk about terrorism committed in the name of Islam. This is not a problem. That doesn't make you necessarily Islamophobic. But this is not what this is about. This is about tarring entire communities. This is about othering entire groups of people which are incredibly diverse and have nothing to do with the terrorism committed in the name of Islam. So I think this is where it becomes Islamophobia, and this is where it becomes far right politics.
Then there was the Philadelphia-based think tank Middle East Forum. Its mission statement is, quote, to promote American interests in the Middle East and protect the West from Middle Eastern threats. It's previously been one of Yaxley Lennon's biggest sponsors. MEF's president, Daniel Pipes, confirmed to the Times of Israel that his group has spent roughly $60,000 on 3 of Robinson's rallies and his legal fees back in 2018. Pipes described Robinson as, quote, trying to sustain his civilization.
Yeah, these links are very significant and they are deeply worrying, because what we're seeing is like alliances that really don't seem particularly natural. This will lead to the vilification of certain communities, but it will also lead to the rise of, I would suspect, of a rise in anti-Semitism as well, to the rise in Islamophobia, and to communities that should be working together being divided and being pitted against each other. I think it's deeply, deeply troubling. And again, at the end of the day, what loses is democracy.
Robinson, Shillman, Horowitz and the Middle East